of 5, spot in these semis on the line, opponent TVD based in the other quarter, but here we go.
Yeah, and we have to remind viewers that C9 is the higher seed, so they get to choose which side to play in game 1, and they chose red side, so they're opting into this.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind when you think of that strategy here, starting out in a best of 5, for me, is kind of the now classic, basically third pick of a mid laner, and then sending your next 2 bans in the second ban phase at the enemy's mid laner if they have not already, jumped on that. Because we're on 7-16 now with all the recent changes to the really meta mid laners and the small nerfs that they all got, I kind of expect Cloud9 to go for a top half of the draft mid laner here and then try and throw more bans into it during the second ban phase.
Yeah, Orianna did receive nerfs on this patch. Also, Jensen and Keane's most played champion throughout the summer split. So Team Dignitas with a pretty strong notion there of banning it right away, and no Cassiopeia ban, but that's also not the type of champion you usually see first picked. Yeah,
and talking about the nerfs to the champions as well, Cassiopeia got off fairly light on them, as did kind of Syndra though. So there are still definitely multiple options left. Orianna was one of definitely the most hard hit, but as you can see, Jensen still demands that respect. Jarvan, flexible pick here, opening it up for Team Dignitas though. You get a little peek at Cassiopeia.
I wonder if they're going to take that one away. Again, if you're talking about the mid lane tier list changing up and the pecking order going away, like, there are first pick worthy mid laners. In 7-15, it wasn't very often, but, if the landscape changes enough, maybe that really is the situation. It was his second most played, and Cassiopeia taken off the table very early by Cloud9.
Yeah, they see the Blanca's banned away, they see Ori's banned away. This is also just saying that they don't think Keane has anything that can beat Jensen's Cassio, as well as it being a good denial pick, as Keane has looked better on Cassiopeia than on pretty much any other pick.
Huge late game power here locked in for Cloud9 in the opening of the draft, right out on the bat. Sneaky and Jensen set up very well to scale in this game. So Team Dignitas, they can look at trying to attack the early game a bit more. Jarvan is quite good, at going for very early plays. And they also touched on this a little bit of, the creativeness of Shrimp. You can go for literally red buff into gank on Jarvan, level 2, try and surprise people, or keep it more flexible and wait till level 3. There's that Syndra I talked about though, and it looks like Keane will be very happy to pick that one up as well.
It is kind of interesting, the mid laners kind of switch priority picks. Like, Keane's now down to his 3rd most played instead of 2nd most played, but it was actually like Jensen's go-to after the Orianna anyway, so like they just kind of switch priority champions and they're fine.
Yeah, and we have a lot to talk about with the AD carry picks right now, because Caitlyn did get some pretty substantial nerfs on this patch, and Twitch is a champion that Sneaky hasn't played all summer split long in the North American LCS, so it is very bold of them to blind that Twitch pick this early in the draft.
I'd have to say though, I feel like Twitch is set up very nicely, because as you were talking about earlier as well, the Caitlyn nerfs are so big that Twitch is going to have a big advantage late in the game versus Caitlyn, whereas that that didn't used to be an issue for her. Meanwhile, though, we're moving on to jungle already, and the Rek'Sai is locked in for Contractz.
Yeah, and this is, I think, a little bit because Jarvan can flex between jungle and top. C9 maybe didn't want Contractz getting banned out, but I do also think this is just the difference in how teams perceive the patch and being in different scrim pockets for the playoffs. They're not going to be scrimming against Dignitas, and Twitch is what C9 has identified as strong. The Caitlyn was picked after the fact, so Altec still thinks they can handle that lane with Caitlyn against Twitch.
What's interesting as well is I was watching the European LCS promotion tournament, and one of the players tweeted after the game, like, man, Caitlyn really is a dumpster fire. I don't know why we even played this champion. So, like, different players have very different
folks.
Different opinions on how the champions go. So I thought that was very interesting. And again, very clearly Altec wants to play it, and his team backs him up.
Top lane bans coming across the board here. No AP Kennen will be seen in North American LCS. I know that's been popping up overseas quite a bit. Denying that a little bit. And return to the flexibility of Jarvan does kind of give the extra edge here to Dignitas, but it looks like, and I would feel that, Jarvan is so strong in the jungle right now. Maybe they're going to select a different top laner for Ssumday this time around on top side.
And I really wonder if Janna is going to be a big pick here. C9 is a little bit low on engage, but the peel offered to Twitch could be huge. Not to mention preventing Janna Caitlyn could be big, because I'm not sure if C9 doesn't pick it here, if Adrian doesn't just lock it down.
Yeah, Adrian definitely played a lot of Thresh and Blitz as well, but Janna certainly is very big. Right now, Cloud9 looking to blind atop winner, quasi-blind, still don't know exactly where Jarvan is going, but they want the champion right away.
Yeah, and Gnar is, very good in the blind scenarios. At the very least, you can go into defensive laning mode with Gnar, spam boomerangs, and with the extra, speed boost, it is actually pretty defensible. Jarvan definitely, if that was the matchup in 1v1, depends on that kill pressure. But like we were thinking before, this is still flexible. And they could, if they wanted to be like, oh, we're going to put AP up in the top lane instead, have Maokai take that switch. Either one could be the jungler.
But that's the lock-in.
And that's a bunch of CC for Team Dignitas. And I do think when they're playing well, it is with an overload of crowd control so they can make plays on their own schedule. It does mean that their late game scaling now with Caitlyn, no sensor user, could be a little bit lower.
One thing as well that I like with Cloud9 kind of taking the Gnar away first in the second round of picks is that Jarvan plus Gnar is a pretty good combo, but even using Jarvan's own ultimate against him, if Jarvan's going to be the one initiating and using those walls as, Cloud9 Gnar to be able to get your own defensive stuns off, look at this Cloud9 team. They actually have quite a lot of utility themselves.
Definitely going to be scary to watch for. The hooks are in there, the Rek'Sai tunnels, and we all have seen the giant Gnar teleport, flank 5-man ultis as well. Impact certainly no stranger to the champion as well. We'll see what comes through into this one. But champion select is done. You got 15 seconds left for coaches to make final comments to their teams. We've heard Parth talk about what you say to your teams at the very end. What are the interesting rubs into this game? What are the lanes with priority? What's our wing position? What's theirs? Make sure the teams are ready to go for the first game of this best of 5.
Yeah, and I think the bottom lane is going to be interesting because of how that can unlock the supports to roam into mid lane. We have two very strong early ganking junglers as well in the Jarvan and the Rek'Sai, so 3- and 4-man parties in the mid lane wouldn't be too surprising to me.
We'll see if the party's coming through. You got shouts for both these squads from the audience, and we are ready to go for game 1 of Team Dignitas facing Cloud9, the 5th and 4th seeds respectively. As the players load in, we will as well. It's going to be all kinds of fun. Spots at Worlds eventually on the line. Some of the playoffs, of course, directly correlate to how well you're going to go in the road to Worlds. Game 1 is here, and we'll see who can do it. Cloud9 picking some early picks towards the late game. Team Dignitas with a pretty bashing front line. We'll see if they can do it.
Yeah, I do want to point out how Team Dignitas did have the flexibility with the Jarvan and the Maokai going top lane or jungle. I like the Maokai top more than I like the Maokai jungle in this instance. The nerfs in patch 7.16 was damage off of saplings early. I think those are much more likely to hit the jungle than they are the top lane pick, even though it's going to hit him regardless since you don't skill those up until the last point. But mostly the top lane will function the same as it did last patch for Maokai.
Also talking with Azael, he seems to think that Maokai is one of the very best matchups in the game for taking out Gnar, and so seemingly Ssumday's happy to do this. We've seen a lot of other pro teams pick Maokai in the matchup as well, looking for a small invade. They're going to find Shrimp. Hook's going to land. Do they have the damage? Flashes the wall. No more follow-through. A flash down is going to make those ganks harder.
Definitely true. It also, especially when you blow flash on jungle like that super early on, really protects your jungler. And also incentivizes, if you have pushing lanes, going for those invades and actually trying to punish Jarvan. Jarvan will get low in the jungle and often has to go, either 3 camps into a scuttle crab for a little bit of a heal or have some sort of early gank plan already planned out rather than power farming his jungle. You can't just go all the way through and he's a little power clear.
Yeah, and that makes the jungle a lot more predictable. When they burn the flash on Jarvan, they can go get the ward onto blue buff, so if he is not to fall low in his jungle, it is if he is doing a buff-to-buff start, so to speak, and they already have that other buff warded.
Yeah, quick clear on the Raptors here for Contractz. As we said a second ago, Shrimp a little bit late in his start because of the forced recall, so that's always going to set his path behind just ever so slightly. Looks like Adrian's going to be on a coin start for the Thresh. Pretty typical Relic Shield start for Smoothie here. And we'll see if, ooh, that hook's going to land. It will, but a Flay gives him a shield, and Sneaky loses about 200 health for that trade, and that's probably Dignitas' favorite.
Yeah, the thing you have to watch out for when you're going coin against a Relic Shield user is just the base stat difference. You're going to generate more gold with the coin, but when you do get hooked in like that, you are at danger and can't take the full trade as far as all-ins are concerned, but they have the push with Caitlyn. Get level 2 first.
Generally, the big advantage in double hook lanes is trying to get your hook when the minions are in place to aid you in those trades.
Whoa.
But man, they got one onto Altec. I mean, Smoothie at the very least is extremely accurate here in the early game. 3 for 3 so far. Contractz, though, sails right by Shrimp.
And doesn't know Shrimp.
In fact,
walking, here comes the gank to the top side. This is not looking good for Gnar. Flashed to buy some time, but he's spending mini in about a second, and he has no way out. First blood comes through for Shrimp in the jungle.
Contractz does not check the brush, and now he wants to go in for Retribution.
It's a little dangerous, though. The health brush running low, and he gives it away! 2 kills now over to Shrimp and Contractz. That is an oopsie.
Oh, that is more than an oopsie. That is an extreme tilter. Jungler passes by topside, so Impact thinks that he's safe, but because Shrimp was already in the brush, he gets a surprise gank, and then the double buffs also go down for Cloud9, so they don't even have those left. 2 kills on the top side, and this sets up the all-pro top laner in Ssumday with a huge advantage.
And don't move when you see the Rek'Sai passing by. Tremor Sense will not see you. That gives Impact a false sense of security. Shrimp then goes in for a gank. Doesn't matter that he doesn't have flash because Ssumday still has his. And then, essentially, Contractz thinks he has enough damage to kill a level 2 Maokai who's flashes, but he has heals from his auto attacks, and he's walking right into a level 3 Jarvan.
At best, that is a 1-for-1. And and at worst, that was at worst right there. So worst case scenario occurs for Cloud9. And this is definitely going to be Team Dignitas feeling quite good about the top side of the map. Shrimp could take that advantage elsewhere, though, if they really are able to set something up.
Yeah, and need to point out how critical it is that he bounced back from not having his flash at level 1. Pretty dangerous, so to speak, to do a level 3 gank when you don't have your flash, but gained the advantage with the patience. The fact that he jumped over the blast cone, saved his EQ in case he saw Rek'Sai was there and could opt out of the 2v2 as well, was just brilliantly played by Shrimp.
Now it actually needs to be a Cloud9 reset of the mindset here in the opening game. This is very early on in this series. Very long best of 5.
Yep.
And they're going to have to recover here.
It's actually worth noting that even though Cloud9 won the 2 best of 3s in the regular season, Team Dignitas won Game 1 of both those series, so even in their head-to-heads earlier this year, Dig often got off to a good start. Now Contractz not spotted taking the Krug, but also doesn't know the Shrimp's coming. Here's the flash play onto 2, lanterns him in. They're gonna go for a sneaky exhausted on that Twitch. Can he get away from everything else? Nice hook to buy some time, and a flash get away from the Flagon Dragon. Looks like this could be an escape. The hook gonna force a flash out of Smoothie. Out they go, but that is 3 summoners down for Cloud9.
Really good, layering of cooldowns there from Cloud9. Smoothie gets off the peel with the hook to pull away, and then Sneaky saves his flash for the Jarvan EQ. He's waiting for the flag to go down, because as soon as that's down, you know there's no direction change. Very easy to get out of that as long as you save your cooldowns and don't panic immediately. Well done by the Cloud9 bottom lane.
Yeah, very good discipline by Sneaky. It also does kind of set up a point of weakness, however, because Shrimp will be hitting level 6 before Sneaky or Smoothie's flashes are back up. So if they want to repeat that gank once the Jarvan is level 6, there is that opportunity.
And Shrimp is on a warpath right now. He's now mid lane trying to get an angle on Jensen. Jensen is doing a good job, though. You can see on the mini-map, he hovers to the top side because Shrimp just showed on bottom side. He knows the jungler's in that side of the map, and there's not really a possible way.
Uh-oh, top side. Oh, he immunes the stun, though, with the jump into the ground, and now can they have the chase on a Ssumday? They do not have it. Despite the ulti being there, no damage to be had.
Yeah, nice use of Twisted Advance from Ssumday. He does escape with his life. Teleport not available, though, so Cloud9 are at least going to pressure here on the turret. They might even go for the dive. Oh, that would be very risky.
It was such a bold play there by Ssumday to not back off the turret. C9 was expecting it because Shrimp was close, but C9 didn't know how close Shrimp would be. The play that Ssumday made assumed Shrimp would be closer, which is why I think C9 didn't dive.
And oftentimes, I really like going for that, even if it's a bluff play. Considering the opening of this game was such a horrible start for Cloud9 on the top side, they've got to be thinking, oh god, if we go for this dive here and the jungler is available, then it's just going to get out of control, right? So the earlier failure might have even gone a long ways in letting Ssumday play up at the turret and rely on the possible presence of Shrimp.
Yeah, Shrimp's, of course, been able to snowball that lead. There's the level 6 you're talking about earlier. Thunderlords means plenty of damage, but he also has already picked up that Smite Stone earlier, so he's got his own deep wards that he's put down in a Contractz jungle. He knows he wins the 1v1, he's got the wards down, and he can track, for example, one of those wards at the Wolf camp in the top right, so he can help track that Rek'Sai. Gives Shrimp a lot of space.
And now we need to track control wards in the river down here because the level 6 Jarvan gank onto the flashless Twitch is what they're setting up here. They've had that control ward for a while. They just got one in river. They're trying to make sure they are as unspotted as possible, but look at those pings by C9. They are guessing that this could be coming as well. Impact would have teleport, and they would have to match very quickly if they don't want this to turn into a disaster.
C9 have no trinket wards or sightstone. Smoothie face checks for once. It's okay, they're not in this rush.
Twitch.
Sees Adrian.
Here they come.
Does he land the hook? He's not going to. He predicts the juke back and almost lands that one. That could have been a lot of damage into the turret.
Very well played by C9, though. The fact that they did not have control ward access in the river and that they were able to get out of this one alive.
Yeah, that gank attempt there does not cost Shrimp too much time. He can also remain on this bottom side. The Drake, they do have a bit of an advantage in this river. He takes up the Scuttle Crab. They'll have plenty of vision and kind of retain control to allow Altec and Adrian to play aggressively down here.
A nice little bit of wave clear coming through is it's going to be a Ruin King start for Sneaky, which is not optimal damage-wise, but it's certainly going to be a more survivable situation when you're up against a scarier matchup like this. So make the best of a rough lane, and he'll keep trying to scale up. Only down 6 CS, honestly not bad for a Caitlyn matchup. They're going to try to get rid of the wards. A small glimpse of vision, as Dignitas knows Contractz is there.
Yeah, and those 2 kills that happened up in the top side is not actually showing up that much in the gold here because Impact is starting to accrue a very large CS lead, and Jensen has a very small one in the mid lane as well, giving him about 100 gold back. So Impact, despite that disaster early, still fighting back in a big way.
Team's only 300 gold apart, certainly a much closer one you might expect for a 2-0 scoreline. They're going to keep trying to push forward his advantage. His Cinder Hulk is done, so see if that can become something with that power spike. Maybe unlikely. Blue handed off to Jensen. Similar situation, of course, for Keane's Syndra, so equal footing otherwise here in this. And we'll see what the next big play is as the summoners are all coming back up. Sneaky's flash only about 20 seconds to go, and then we've got all 10.
Wards in the mid lane, and that previous move by Shrimp did spot out Smoothie as he passes up there. So Keane going to play very safe at his turrets. Not going to expose himself to any of those Blitzcrank roams that we talked about earlier. Adrian hasn't really gotten out for any sort of mid-lane action, but Smoothies will be fairly inconsequential.
Yeah, at least the supports are building for the roam, though. Unlike some supports that rush the Sightstone, both Thresh and Blitz have gone boots of mobility. So in actual fights against each other, they're both opting out of the combat stats. The mobility boots are to get in range to start the fights, even with roams in the mid lane. One unfortunate thing for Cloud9 is when Smoothie made that roam mid, he didn't check the brush where the control ward is, and Contractz walks right past it as well. So C9 getting spotted a lot by that one pesky control ward.
Yeah, walk right by it again. We'll see if Contractz goes for this brush. And nope. All right, they're going to leave that one up for a little bit longer. A little defensive one on that bottom side from Keane.
It's starting to become a sort of a theme here, though, because Contractz did not check the brush on top side. Neither member of Cloud9 checks this pixel brush.
0-4, 0-5, something like this.
Yeah. And so many times, a lot of times when you'd be playing solo queue, you don't even ward that brush because it's too easy to check, but here comes Smoothie.
Can he land the hook? He's gonna flash for the knockup into the silence of the ignite. All the damage there on Adrian, gonna flash away. A lot of damage to the snipe. He's going in. He's gonna die for it. Yes, exhaust is not enough. Contractz picks up the kill. The first for Cloud9. Now Altec at a 1v3 in bot lane, but there's no dive to be had. Shrimp's coming down. Jensen's trying to buy some time. Gets a stun to his face, but he's going to be okay with that Negatron cloak. He will not die to Keane. Out they go.
Cassiopeia has very good disengage there for the defense. Impact goes in for a bit of a trade here onto Ssumday and gets a nice little bit of damage down onto him. Impact's doing so well with that CS, continuing to increase the advantage even.
And when everyone is shown on the bottom side of the map, it frees him up to leap in, be very aggressive with the turret. Gnar ult on, but watch this one more time. Remember, both supports boots mobility, so not that much health. Adrian also with the coin, so very squishy. They get him hooked in. The heal goes out through the ignite. Because that connects, it allows Contractz to land his ultimate. And then on the way out, Smoothie also takes turret to allow some freedom. Trying to make the play go around, though.
Looking for the play. He's going to dunk on it. They know it's a flashless Blitzcrank. The hook's going to land as well. Flay to pull him out of the Cataclysm. This should be enough damage. The trade back on a Shrimp is pretty heavy. He will survive the poison, though. And a nice kill picked up there by Shrimp.
Shrimp remaining proactive. Very good punish for him on the bottom side. Yep. People don't take advantage of offensively blown summoners nearly enough, and he does so in a very good way there to kind of right the ship on the bottom side. This gold is so incredibly close still. And again, Dignitas bottom lane pushing in. Tower maybe.
Yeah.
No, this is in range of the first turret bonus, so this is a very big bonus objective here if Dignitas can actually complete.
Yeah, worth getting a little greedy for sometimes, but they don't have control of River, which I think is one of the bigger things there, fearing a Cassiopeia and a Rek'Sai collapse.
Yeah, the Cassiopeia is the big one. The fact that Jensen's able to roam out first every time. You saw in the bot lane he was first, in here he was as well.
13 minutes into the game, you really have to start keeping track of the teleport cooldowns. Both top laners have them available, and junglers are on the bottom side because they sense how close this objective is to going down. Altec should be able to get that damage down.
A couple of recalls for Cloud, and Hook almost comes in. That was a bit close. The turret stays alive, but it is getting dangerously close to falling.
Yeah, and Sneaky's really low on resources as well. Not that much mana, half health. So it's emboldening Team Dignitas to almost bait a 3v3 or more down here. Top laners both have teleports up.
Dignitas honestly have no reason to let up on the pressure. They do have that mana advantage. There's no deep wards here for C9, but they might go for it anyway.
Trying to wave clear the minions out. You saw Smoothie pop the ulti. A bit of a hit on the trip. They want to fight this one. Here comes the teleports in. Onto a ton of Contractz running out of health. Hook's going to land on a Smoothie. They're not going to go for the kill just yet, but here comes Keane. They're going to pick off one, and Smoothie, if he gets one more CC onto him, here's the ulti for Ssumday. He's got Righteous Glory available as well. Pops it for the move speed, comes into the front line. Turret's going to fall, and so will Smoothie. 2 kills plus the first turret all for Dignitas.
Bit of a lost cause there for Cloud9 to force in this area. They're weak. They're behind on the bottom side. Teleports can be answered. Jungler's already showing as well. There's no really surprise move here. It's just Cloud9 forcing it and Team Dignitas punishing.
Exactly. They set that play up. They were saying, we're going to get this turret, or we are going to force you to fight us with your depleted resources. And C9 chooses between two bad choices and ends up losing both.
Yeah, they started the TP, of course, Impact canceled via his lane pressure, at least able to equalize the turret kill itself. But again, down those 2 kills and down the first turret goal.
It's always so risky engaging on a Thresh like this. Contractz is going to charge ahead of the rest of his team into 3 members. So he immediately gets flayed and boxed out. Then Adrian as well lands the hook onto Smoothie. So Adrian is just, securing, kills for his team on all fronts here with the Thresh, and they clean up in a very big way. This is a huge snowball for Team Dignitas, even further considering the early start that they had on the top side as well.
Big step out of this game, and now Team Dignitas going to move their dual lane top side. Altec's got an Infinity Edge done. That's a great power spike for a Caitlyn. Sightstone, Moby's, Nomad's Medallion also there for Adrian. Those two can keep knocking things down. The
only thing I would say is that all these kills are actually going to Shrimp. He's the one getting the last hits for this. And this is, Tank Jarvan. He has put that money into a team-oriented item here with the locket, and he's going to be able to shield up the rest of the team. But, the shield scales with health now, so it's a bit better later in the game. Plus, he blew it there while he was trying to kill a ward, so not the best active management. But
probably not an attack reset.
Yeah.
And the CS lead is so big for Impact in the top lane that even though he's got a 0-1-0 scoreline to a 1-0-3 Maokai, he's still up 300 gold and did take the turret in the top lane, by the way. That turret was equalized. So, yes, Shrimp is kind of the team fight creator right now, and that's how Team Dignitas is going to try and win. But C9 setting up a pretty strong split push game with this Black Cleaver Rush Gnar.
And remember, we cautioned against it before, but okay, never mind. I'll take that.
You want it?
There's Pork.
Nice. All right, goodbye, Adrian.
We cautioned against it before, but even if Shrimp is a teamfight creator, like you say, he leaves down the Cataclysm. If he leaves it down too long, Impact himself can use that against him. He's now level 11 on Gnar, access to that level 2 ultimate, and can completely turn it around.
Well, Shrimp still standing by the team. He knows he's the gold. He's got to be part of these fights.
Going to be another force here.
Both junglers around. Now, Impact's TP is up, and Ssumday's is not because he canceled.
He doesn't have any rage built up in his Gnar bar, though, and we have very often seen mini Gnars teleport in and get instantly deleted before being able to build up any sort of rage. So you always do have to take that into consideration, and kind of a little bit of randomness with this character when you draft him onto your team.
In the case, you got to play around that, and the play was not to be had. Impact back to Mega Gnar for now. It's going to be a Rift Herald attempt, as they're going to tank it up, and Sneaky's going to walk over, and looks like with that lane pushed in, Team Dignitas not likely to contest, and this can help equalize more of the gold. Shrimp's nearby, though. Adrian coming in as well.
How strong he feels.
But he's been grounded, sent to his room, and yep, there's the pickup on Rift Herald, goes over to Contractz.
Yeah, Miasma stops a surprising number of abilities, but does not stop Jarvan EQ, so he could have jumped over that.
Actually doing plenty of damage. Meanwhile, Contract's going to fall off. The ulti from Keane makes that one happen. 1 for 0. The chase in Impact trades the kill onto the turret. Flash for flash, and I guess a 2-for-1 overall. Jensen would have been fine, but had to flash because he was afraid of that skill shot still landing, gets away.
All right.
In the mid lane.
Yep, that's going to be pressure for Team Dignitas, and the siege will continue here. Smoothie!
What a hook! They got him! A lot of damage with the hook back, and he's going to fall for it despite the good moves. Team Dignitas still firing faster. 4v3 and the damage is had.
Hooks on hooks. Every time you land one as Thresh or Blitz, you are immediately open to the other guy because you're basically immobile to finish off your combo. Nice counter there by Adrian, even if it was a wondrous hook by Smoothie in the start. Watching this, it's just a hook onto Contractz that starts it, and then a missed hook by Smoothie onto Keane.
And this is why we are talking so much about Adrian in the opening. On the bottom side, though, Impact has been going for these huge trades on Ssumday the entire game. This time, he decides to commit for the kill under the turret. Ssumday flashes back in, though, so he's going to be able to get the answer kill.
Ooh. If Ssumday had popped Righteous Glory a second sooner, because it doesn't give you move speed running away, but it gives you a slow if you touch the guy. And so when he flash autoed to heal, if that had Righteous Glory on, he could have slowed Impact, and maybe he grates the gap. Either way, a slightly late activation.
Impact didn't actually have to walk, he just flashed for the last auto to the kill, so...
Right.
But
yeah,
it would have been slightly more optimal use of the item, though.
All right, that's fair. But either way, 1-for-1, a trade of flashes. Impact flash to make sure he lands the shot. Here's the hook. He predicts the juke backwards, but Keane walks straight forward. Minions are gone, a couple of turret shots on the Contractz, but there's the Rift Herald. And the mid lane turret's going to fall. The gold now back to only 2,000 difference.
Yeah, and even though the kills are 8-2, it's still anyone's game. We know Cassiopeia, especially with this Abyssal Mask defensive start, is scaling up to the late game. The Twitch scaling up to the late game. The Caitlyn nerfs on 7.16, not as good at scaling to the late game. So this is still only an 1,800 gold advantage for Team Dignitas. They need to keep this pressure up with the Righteous Glory Maokai, with the Syndra right now, and make this lead count.
And even the lockout on Jarvan, they have a lot of early power sparks. Gonna hope to use, see if they can do that. Mid lane gonna fall, no questions asked. Impact still shutting up the top lane. TPs are matched at a certain point down the line.
Yeah, it is a decent, lead there for Team Dignitas, but, especially if you're looking at the front line. Maokai has only armor right now, and that's one of the benefits of Cloud9 drafting both Twitch and Cassiopeia. We haven't really seen Jensen kind of flex his muscles. He could kind of melt this Maokai on the front lines if Cloud9 are able to buy him some time to do it. So these team fights are going to be so much about that setup and protecting those late game carries.
Yeah, and I also like this matchup between Dignitas and C9 because the way the teams distribute their resources. CS percentage post 15 minutes is one of the better ways of deciding who teams like as their carries. Altec, the highest AD carry for CS percentage post 15 minutes. He gets a lot of their resources, whereas Jensen is the highest for the starting mid laners in the North American LCS. So it's very much about Altec trying to channel a bunch of farm and Jensen starting to channel a bunch of farm. And if we look at the characters, I think right now the Cassiopeia does scale a little bit better than the Caitlyn. So the resources Altec gains, he's going to have to use sooner before Jensen becomes that massive force with magic damage and physical damage coming through from two different hypercarries.
We'll see if it does come into this one. Quick smite, Strip takes away another camp, 4-0-3. Pretty much an immaculate performance on this Jarvan, going for his next Ruby Crystal-based tank item. See what that ends up being. Team still fighting over for vision control as Baron has now spawned. That ends up being a thing. Ssumday clearing minions with his Thorn Mail, or Bramble Vest as it is. And that bot turret, though, getting lower. Impact still is a way to create advantages. TP flank looks for it. There's a flash dunk on a Jensen. He's got no way out at all, and the damage comes through. Adrian somehow takes away the kill with the box or something.
Sentenced to death there by the Thresh again. And that's actually very good timing here for clearing out the Baron. Dignitas going to start it up with no hesitation.
Let's see if they can do it 5v4. The primary carry may be dead on this one. Impact has not started the teleport whatsoever. There's no wards to go to. There is one in the pit now.
Charging up that rage bar.
But they're not going for the fight. They're only going for the steal. Can Contractz make it happen, or can Ssumday zone him out?
Smoothie, maybe he's looking to pull out Shrimp here. He's looking for an angle to get the other jungler.
More wards. There's the flash to lock him up, and now there's no way to do it. And they're going to have it in time. He almost didn't land the spike. Contractz nearly made it over, but it's going to be a kill. The ulti not going to buy enough time. Another kill and the Baron for Team Dignitas.
I was really wondering if they were going to get that, but he does. Both teams are focused on keeping the enemy jungler out of the Baron. So Baron was sitting on 200 to 300 health for a incredibly awkward amount of time before Shrimp was able to get back inside for the smite. Ssumday did a good job getting outside to keep Contractz out, but also very nice hook there from Smoothie.
So much happened there, as well as C9 very clearly saying that they were not going to try and fight at Baron, and that actually kind of made the Smite fight more easily followable because there's just 2 Cloud9 members. Twitch is top, Gnar is bot, no TP is channeling, so Dig doesn't need to worry about taking damage. So they can all focus on keeping Contractz out. Ssumday roots him as Shrimp gets hooked. So as Kobe said, both junglers are missing, and it's a matter of who can get in first to Smite. Shrimp makes it in a quarter of a second earlier.
And that was such a good angle because the vision timed out there for Cloud9. That was the last place that Smoothie saw the enemy jungler, and there was no vision on Smoothie either. But he places his bets. He is rewarded, but in the end, doesn't matter. Shrimp just goes right back in. Team Dignitas now marching down the mid lane with purple buff.
Credit to Ssumday for keeping Contractz out as long as he could to give Shrimp the time, and now mid lane 2-2 is going to fall, and Team Dignitas found those picks. Shrimp got the pick on the Jensen. He got back in the pit for the Baron. This is going so well for them. 10-2 the scoreline. 3 turrets finally down.
This has honestly just been Shrimp's game. 4-0-5 here on the Jarvan. Very, very successful for himself. And Ssumday's kind of been playing the supportive role. You know, he didn't get the kill credit on those ones. Impact was, you know, definitely bullying him with the Gnar for a long time. But when it counts, as you said, one of the most important things to do is to keep the enemy jungler out. He was able to do that.
Yeah, and they're going to be trying to rotate around these outer turrets with the Baron buff to extend that gold lead. I think one of the biggest things that tells the story of this game is the ability to exploit a flash cooldown versus not. Shrimp lost his flash at level 1, turned that into a double kill, and then every time he's burned a flash elsewhere, he's returned before that flash has come back up and killed the person. So they have 10 kills generated a lot off of flash cooldowns, just getting a Jarvan ult on a flashless person and then making the lead off of that.
90% kill participation for the jungler, and that is a lot of gold gained off this Baron with all those turrets being cleaned up there by Team Dignitas. And even though there were nerfs to Kate scaling, she still scales very well. It's not like she was completely killed for the late game. Always feels nice once you have all your crit multiplying, and here goes Adrian.
Can they catch on an impact? The slow from the Boomerang not going to land on Ssumday. He jukes around it. The speed finally wears off, and
That's not going to catch up.
No.
It does go really far, but not that far.
And impact is going to be fine.
Yeah, to speak to the Caitlyn nurse a little bit, when you are on the same items as the other AD carry, you're going to be weaker. But items multiply so much in League of Legends, right? If you are a full item up on someone else, you're still going to be stronger. And that's why Team Dignitas was still willing to pick the Caitlyn. They thought they'd be able to get a lead and get the items first.
I mean, Altec has 5% less attack speed, or 10% less attack speed than he did 7 patches ago.
Yeah.
Well, he's got an extra zeal on you. Pretty sure he's fine. I think it's more than 10% attack speed. Clearly, he's doing very well for himself. The advantage has snowballed. Cloud9 doing the best they can of a bad situation. They're going to knock down top lane tier 2 despite having Baron on their opponents because, keep in mind, bot lane is being pushed right now by that aforementioned Altec Caitlyn. This turret likely to fall, and Cloud9 picking up what they can, but Dignitas pushing his lead farther ahead. The lead's going to go from 5 to 6,000 almost now, and they're doing very well for themselves.
Yeah, the gold's starting to balloon right now. Was funny how the Cloud Drake was taken after the Baron, so very low Drake score in this game. If it does end up going super late, it will make Elder less powerful, but in the meantime, it's basically just Team Dignitas resetting, realizing how far they are ahead, getting control wards down once again, and then setting up more plays.
And the point man for setting up those plays really has been the Thresh here. Adrian's got a 2-level lead over Smoothie on the Blitzcrank, so he even is more comfortable getting into the middle of the team fights, even though he went the more utility-focused build path, right? He's got the extra speed, which, you know, he's using with the talisman activation to create a lot of these initiations, but he also has the extra levels and pure health from that to be able to get right into the mix of things.
Looking at a good first game for Team Dignitas. See if they can keep that chain going. 27 minutes in at this point here. Baron's going to be gone for another 3 minutes. We'll see when they can push in next.
We're looking for ways for Cloud9 back into this game to try and stall out and, you know, try and trivialize this gold difference a little bit for themselves and extend the game. They do have the Black Cleaver and Frozen Mallet on Gnar, which is, you know, goes a very long way in gaining some side lane pressure. He also is able to remain fairly safe. It's just a matter of, will the rest of the team be able to disengage from a Talisman Thresh, a Righteous Glory Maokai, and that is an extremely difficult thing for a 4-man squad to do.
And I think that's one of the biggest problems. Ssumday was getting beat up in that lane, and the team identified that they needed to force those fights, and they were able to do so. And then on top of Team Dignitas having an overload of initiation, C9 doesn't have as much disengage as they would like. Blitzcrank is an engaged support, not a disengaged support. Twitch has a hard time running away. Cassiopeia can peel with miasma, but doesn't have any movement abilities of her own. So not the greatest matchup for what C9 wants to do. If they wanted to set up a split push Gnar that's going to stall the game out for them, then they have to have better disengage options, and they've been getting caught with a split pushing Gnar far too often this game.
I'm very curious to see if Cloud9 will set up some wards leading to Baron, because we're only about 50 seconds away from the next Baron spawn. And this is really going to be the one that kind of breaks the game open or allows Cloud9 a large period of stalling out. Because if they can stall out at their turrets inside the base, then they would be fine to extend the game. But Team Dignitas definitely want to pull them out here into the open where they can try and take advantage.
Yeah, and we keep saying late game, late game, late game for C9. It's not that far away, and their disadvantage actually isn't as massive as we would think with how much control Dignitas seems to have. 5,000 gold.
Here we go. Might make the way in. Talisman Ascension pop, but no engage had. However, it's still darkness. It's vision control. You can use this 5,000 gold to say you're not allowed into my jungle. Smoothie gonna not quite land the hook. Strip's gonna slow him with the shield. They're gonna land the hook as well from Adrian. Play brings him in onto a trap as well, and Smoothie forced to flash away, and that's what vision control gets you, a flash cooldown, and now it's 5,000 gold plus a flash advantage.
And one difficulty Dignitas has here is they set up most of their plays off of down flash cooldowns. Every flash was up for C9 before that fight, so the initiation from Shrimp isn't as disastrous.
Oh, for more. The hook means a flay is still going to land now. Contractz not yet over the wall, finally does so, and knock up onto the gigantic damage. But they've got the damage output, and he finally melts. Shrimp his first death of the game. Cloud9 5v4 looking for the next.
Impact has the extra slow as he's charging up and trying to get in there.
Throws got flash. Wants Adrian. He's got Mega. How far back is he? Nice knockback. A flay to buy some time as well. The flash forward pulls in one. The stun's going to land. It's going to be one picked off, but a trade for the Gnar. Spray and break coming across Sneaky, not finding more than the support kills though, with just a trade of lives. Quick Tank comes in 2-4 in the overall fight, including shut down gold on knocking down Shrimp.
Oh man, this game is heating up right here. You can see one overstep by Shrimp just flips a switch in C9's brains that say they are now the aggressors. They don't have to worry about the Jarvan. And Impact maybe even goes a little bit too far in trying to flash for that Mega Gnar that was so juicy.
You say an overstep. Look at the tug of war in this game with the Thresh and the Blitzcrank. So we have pulls in. We're moving screen by screen over. Jarvan EQs, Cataclysms, then gets pulled even further. So he's a good 1,500 units away. And then this is where Cloud9 sense a huge comeback, and they try to force a little bit much. The Gnar flash is such a big cooldown that expending it for a one-for-one trade here is actually very beneficial for Team Dignitas.
So much CC on the side of Team Dignitas just kept poking Impact back from the team, because the Mega Gnar he saw 2 seconds before he ended up getting just the Thresh was the whole team, but the CC that landed from Keane, from Adrian, from Ssumday delayed him just enough to make that flash unsuccessful.
So we saw our first glimpse of Jensen in a team fight, not getting deleted at the start. Hook though on to Contractz, goodbye! Unleashed power, no Rek'Sai, no smite.
And now it's a 5v4 at Baron. Does C9 even try to fight this? Because the steal is not even a possibility.
I think they should beat it, but it looks like they're going to go for something.
They're going to throw boomerangs at it. And a hook, they're going to hope that it's random damage that gets it. They're going to pull in one. The smite's going to land anyway. Do they have the damage for Adrian? They might, but the exhaust is on, and yes, they get the kill. But just like last time, it's a trade of support for top lane. Now Jensen's got to run. Thankful of the miasma, but now it's the flash, the dock up, the chase is in, and Ssumday getting that kill. Jensen mispositioned for it.
This is what, as the advantageous positioning is going to get you. Team Dignitas, they have the vision for so long. Contractz, even on Rek'Sai trying to throw Prey Seekers, gets caught here. Another pick for Team Dignitas results in another Baron, and this one might just be too much for C9 to withstand.
They're going to let Strip tank for a little while, wait for the mini wave eventually. But right now it's a 4v3 on the map. They're going to find Smoothie. Blitzcrank, he's going to get blitzed onto and he's gone. There's no front lineman anymore. Now to jump in for Sneaky. Low on health trying to run, shut down. The double kill comes in thanks to Altec as Adrian revives and runs across the map, but the middle inhibitor turret going to fall. And Cloud9 defending 3v4, gives away 2 more kills.
And it could be game if they keep having these desync death timers. It's Keane and Altec at full health with tank still alive for Dig.
That is definitely game. Baron buff up. They're burning through the Nexus turret. Jensen is alive. If he pulls off some magic.
3v5, they're going to hope for the miracle. The grounding is in. They're going to take down 1. Will they get more for the trade? Contractz able to kite away. The Gnar comes across, a couple of stunts behind. The gigantic petrifying gaze by a bit more, and he's surviving with the magic resist. But the health bars are still running low. Now you got Smoothie respawning, pulls one into the turret shot, and that might be enough with the Flay to buy a few more seconds. Will they kill Adrian? Gnar to throw in the attacks, and Impact gets it. 2 alive versus Sneaky respawning, and Cloud9 live for another day.
Keep scaling, later game. But what keeps happening to C9 in this game is Dignitas is forcing them into bad decisions. Either give us something or try and stop us. And when C9 tries to stop them, they lose so much more. It happened at the turret at the start of the game in the bottom lane. It happened at Baron there. And it even happened in mid lane. Then finally they get something back as Team Dignitas tries to end the game.
Really good lockup there under the turrets. They buy so much time for Jensen to get his damage out. And then the petrifying gaze double stun on the backline. Could not have been better. Locks up both of them and is able to kill Altec within the stun duration. As well as getting Keane so low that he has to leave the fight.
Yeah.
And allow Cloud9 for a little bit more time. But man, this one, they are cutting it so ridiculously close. This is, you know, a 10,000 gold lead now for Team Dignitas.
Like, even though, like, all the Cloud9 fans like, oh, but they won the fight, the gold's getting worse and worse, and the base is getting worse and worse from here. Dignitas are certainly in the driver's seat. You just have that little piece in the back of your mind that says, what if? But every time, Dig has come out ahead.
And talking about scaling, Sneaky needs Infinity Edge before that becomes a reality. When he gets Infinity Edge, then he will be the late game Twitch. But until then, they do not have the damage to cut through that Maokai and that Jarvan. Look at that tank item stack they have in the front line. It's why Sneaky had to go Last Whisper, but it means he doesn't get his crit multi.
That's why the Cloud9 teamfight victories revolve entirely around these big crowd control abilities. The AoE stuns, it's either Impact or Jensen. That's going to be a big playmaker for this team. Or Team Dignitas are just going to walk it through. Yeah,
and Dig still has Baron buff for a short time, so I can see why they wanted to rush this push, but it was defended on the first wave. Here comes the second.
Smoothie also has to be very careful when throwing out his hook. He's been punished very heavily. Every time he lands a blitz hook, he's been the one on the receiving end of a retaliation from Adrian, and it has definitely cost Cloud9.
Things to watch out for. The siege continue though for Team Dignitas. No Baron buff up for them. Way to grab that second Drake. Ocean needs a bit of extra regen as they keep putting the auto attacks down. And Cloud9 keep clearing the waves. No static shiv and no burst damage out of the mage means those minions don't die all that fast.
We have Baron gone, so these pushes are harder. Notice the Knight's Vow on Jensen.
Top righteous. Sneaky. For the play. Roots onto a 3 in the back line, and Impact gonna fall away. Pops the stone play, tries to get out into the back lane, goes straight. Do they have the damage that'll knock him down? It's a giant burst of damage, and 2 got picked up. They hooked it, Keane. 3 kills for Cloud9, make it 4. And somehow Impact still lives, so would you believe it? With a 10,000 gold deficit, Cloud9 looking to get a completely clean ace inside their base.
Smoothie with the hook onto Keane to get the pick. How did C9 win this fight?
Oh my god. It's going to take them a while, but they'll do it.
You saw how
took longer than the other 4 did.
Exactly. That's how important it is to be behind your front line as a damage dealer. That's why Dignitas had such a huge lead, but they bypass the Maokai and win the fight.
And Impact's escape there as well on the outside. He gets hooked in Gnar form. I think he's dead for sure.
And Ssumday chases him.
So did Team Dignitas.
No Ssumday.
So basically for this 4-on-4, it's both tanks are out of the fight because Ssumday went chasing. So even though they had a huge advantage there taking down Impact, it didn't matter because there was no Maokai in the fight. And Smoothie, as you said, gets the hook onto Keane while they're inside the Cataclysm. Huge damage, and it's absolutely a huge victory here for Cloud9.
Yeah, Impact distracting the Maokai, making it a one-man frontline in the Jarvan, who flashed for his ultimate again. So he's too far away for the immediate follow-up from Team Dignitas, and they die while following through with the Jarvan engage.
Even in the end, even though Impact is on 2% health and Ssumday's on 98%, they're both out of the team fight.
Yep. and the gold lead shrunk by 40%. It's now 6,000. Now that's still 6,000. That is still Team Dignitas with control of the map right now. As long as they play it right, you have to assume. Traps are up, looking to again play for the Baron.
Yeah, the morale is through the roof for Cloud9, and the Infinity Edge is on the field for Sneaky.
Yep.
He has been able to complete it. Jensen was already completely operational, so Cloud9 are feeling, at the very least, quite a lot better about the state of this game. They have 2 exposed inhibitors, though, and only 1 Nexus Turret left, so Team Dignitas only need 1 more big team fight victory.
It's very true, and the one thing that C9 has, though, is with 2 respawn inhibitors, there's not super minions pushing towards their wave, and they just had the confidence to move and clear vision around Baron. So a lot of the disadvantages have come with Team Dignitas getting a pick around the Baron area. If it happens again to C9, it will be over, but if they can avoid it, they're probably stronger in a full 5v5 team fight. Here's a fight in the mid lane, though.
Here comes the ulti across. How many roots they're going to get? Maybe just on the Impact, and then on the back line, they're going to look for a little bit more, but he's so tanky. The front line in the right place, and Impact forced to jump away. As the fight resets, Shrimp is low, the spray break coming across, but he's staying alive. The play to the front line, they're going to knock down Sneaky. That's a 1-for-0. How about the Cassiopeia? Jensen picks up 1. Still alive with a shield in the back line, but he's getting chased down by Ssumday, and the CC is there. A couple more attacks, the flash, and he's going to knock down the last carry. It's only Impact left to do anything at all, and he will drop to Keane. You've got to believe it, but yes, he will finally burn down. That's the ace, that's the game with 3 standing. Team Dignitas gonna knock down the next.
1 more big team fight, and Dignitas find it, the crucial one. They will be able to take the first game in this set, just like the regular season.
It took a lot of work.
What a brawl this game turned into. Team Dignitas pull it through in the end.
And all that's left is formality of the Nexus falling. Keane and Shrimp especially, had such a start to this game, and they finally close it out with the gold lead. Team Dignitas 1-0 in the series.
So many clutch moments in this game. Some overextensions by Team Dignitas. And in that final fight, Sneaky died with flash up. It was a CC chain from Maokai. There was so much chain CC on that Team Dignitas team, but the Twitch with Infinity Edge that he had scaled the whole game for never got his chance to open and free fire.
You can see, yeah, just a very close one absolutely to be had here. The overall damage output, the Caitlyn actually topping the charts, you know, had a melee champion shoot the landing phase, so got to get some of the damage there, but Altec certainly made the Caitlyn look good even after 2 rounds of nerfs. She's like a 46% win rate solo queue champion, clearly still quite viable in pro play. You blind the Twitch, we'll pick a lane bully. And first turret came down there, a lot of their gold and kills came down from that lane. That new duo from Team Dignitas still paying off.
And just rewatching that last couple of seconds of that team fight, I was trying to figure out what caught Sneaky. Was it a Thresh hook or, you know, long range Syndra or something? It was literally just an auto attack range trying to damage the front line. And Ssumday's able to get off a twisted advance. As you said, it's instantly chained into CC and he's down. That's you know, the big carry there for the backside.
And that's the difference between the fight that C9 had at their inhibitor and the fight they had in the mid lane. The Maokai was gone versus that 300 armor super tank being in the fight. Just a really great opening game to this series.
Opening game to the series. Team Dignitas have won 3 straight game 1s in a row against Cloud9. We'll see if this time around they can actually close out the series. But for more on that win, let's send it down to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Phreak. Dignitas coming away with game 1 in this best of 5 series. That's the only one you guys get in your predictions. So
enjoy it, Dig fans. We're never wrong. So.
All right, but let's talk about how this victory came about. First, looking at champion select, because with patch 7.16, of course, we had some questions around how this would affect some of the most popular champions in the meta. And hey, look, Maokai, Caitlyn still make it through into the pick phase, but largely because other ADCs were focused out in the ban phase.
I think the big surprise for both of us is just the Twitch taken extremely early on out of C9. And with the Caitlyn taken out, that is one of the big lane bullies, but Dig showed that they can still run it, and then it was able to, for the most part, have pressure down that bot side.
Yeah, and Cloud9 put a lot of eggs in that basket because they picked Cassiopeia Twitch as their first round, which is like, we're going for scaling immediately. And then the rest of their composition ended up being something that had a little more effect in the early game. And so when you pick a Twitch and you pick a Cassiopeia that early on, you're probably looking at a single winning lane to gank early. And that was the top lane, in which the plan ended up kind of like the way they executed the early game made sense. But then the misplays is really what made it so that C9's game plan didn't actually pan out.
Yeah, the story of the game was misplays and capitalization on those misplays from Dignitas in a majority of the cases. We did, of course, at the beginning of the day, tease the jungle matchup. You know, Contractz versus Shrimp. And Mark, I know you were vocal about the fact, thinking that you know, Contractz has had a better year than Shrimp. But here we have some pretty big blunders showing through.
I think this is an example of where the pathing out of C9 was very intelligent to play more around the top side, but they just did not know that Shrimp was in there. There was a small indication.
Saw him.
Yeah, because they saw him, but either the communication was missed or Contractz himself didn't notice it. But either way, the first kill comes in, then Contractz goes in for this attempt to cleanup kill, misplays it, E's before he has full rage, so he doesn't get the true damage. And then this bot lane play is a horrible, horrible decision out of C9. You have seen Shrimp in lane this entire time. They have health advantage on you, and you still brute force that play. They get appropriately punished by Dignitas, and then from there, the snowball just continued.
Yeah, and the composition from Dignitas is fantastic for pushing early leads. They have the Caitlyn for the siege. They have the Maokai and the Jarvan, which got the majority of that early gold, and they're your divers. They're the ones who accelerate the pace of the game to get those turrets down so you can dive tier 2s and close games out earlier.
I think that was absolutely key. The fact that a number of the kills went on to Shrimp early, got him to a tanky point where he could kind of initiate those dives and move fearlessly around the map. But while Dignitas was picking up advantages in the kill column, we have to acknowledge the fact that the gold lead was not as disparate as one might expect through those earlier portions of the game, and that was largely because of that winning lane, Gnar versus Maokai, Impact doing work when it came to CS numbers.
Yeah, and the fact that a double kill went over in the level 3 to the top lane, that's honestly, that lane could have been really bad for Dignitas because we saw him up about 70 plus CS, and if that Gnar wins that lane, which was the game plan they were going for, he enables the rest of the team to scale up, but they kind of threw all of that away off that first play.
Yeah, it's one of the things where if Contractz sees that play right away, he counter ganks it, there's no flash on that Jarvan from the level 1, you obliterate that counter gank, and you probably just snowball the game through that.
And I don't want to take anything away from Dignitas here in the victory, but we do have to acknowledge a number of the head scratchers that came forth from C9 in the early game, and then of course the fact that Dignitas making kind of a clumsy play around the bot lane when they had the game all but, you know, won, in order to give C9 one more opportunity in a full base defense to maybe come back into the game.
This is a fight where just target prioritization was all over the place. Impact walks a little bit too far forward, and then they blow basically all their CC all at the same time on Impact. And Ssumday keeps chasing him as Shrimp refocuses down to the back line here. They're almost able to get through it, but Altec starts auto-attacking Contractz a little bit more instead of trying to potentially chase through. They lose some damage there. Ssumday finally rejoins the fight, but his entire team is already dead.
Yeah, and I believe Altec actually does get hit by Jensen's ultimate there from almost max range, and then he has to QSS, and he's already getting obliterated there. But this fight here is another kind of one where they're able to access the backline because Impact has to jump away here. And look at the Maokai who's just buying time for his cooldown to be back up, and he just jumps onto Sneaky, who, boom, right there, just gets taken out by Twisted Advantage.
Arcane Smash into the Flay, into the Syndra ultimate means that Sneaky goes down. Jensen, the only remaining damage dealer, isn't enough to take care of the rest of the team from Dignitas' side.
And so, you know, you're talking about head scratchers there for Dignitas where it wasn't able to like close out off that previous fight, and you don't want to take anything away from them, but I feel like we have to give them so much credit because when they got ahead, their Baron baits, Dignitas Barons, this entire split have reversed the meme in my mind because it's a good thing now. They are actually taking the Barons and baiting them appropriately. They get a single pick on Jensen, which got them that first Baron. And Dignitas, that is something that you can, if you know how to play around the Baron and bait it appropriately, there are so many teams that lose games just around that area.
I think it's especially noteworthy because C9 played that defense pretty well as well, where they were able to hook out Shrimp, but at the same time, Ssumday
was saving that.
Yeah, Ssumday goes over and stops Contractz from getting into the pit, so neither jungler can get back in. Shrimp gets in first, and they're able to get that Baron. And that's one of the things that over the course of this series is very, very reliable, that, you know, you can expect Dignitas to have great Baron control. What's not reliable for me is what happened in the early game, because this game is not one that comes down to me to like X's and O's and did we draft properly. It's like you got to wake up C9. You can't go in late after a counter gank went wrong on the top side. You can't go force a play in the bot lane after you're already at so many disadvantages. They just need to think more clearly. It feels like they're a little caught up in the moment or something.
Eliminating mistakes for Cloud9, but then if that's a given, if we pretend that Cloud9 does clean up their early game and some of those blunders, how does Dig respond to that and make sure they stay ahead of the curve, Irene, and continue to pick up victories here in the best of 5?
I feel like that game is one that you can kind of go, okay, you know, that early game went really well for us. They haven't really had to show too much right now, and I feel like that really helps them out in the best of 5. The jungle route from Shrimp, he didn't have flash, and it was kind of a standard route. They didn't really try anything creative there, and it was pretty standard play from Dignitas with two lanes that win, and then one that kind of won because it was handed to you. They would have won the other 2 lanes regardless of what happened. So I think they just play it again.
And Dignitas is moving to red side, which I actually do like because C9 showed so many of their lane matchups right away in that first round where they take the Cassiopeia and Twitch, and that gives up 2 counter picks with the Syndra and the Caitlyn. And if C9, is on red side again, they say, all right, well, let's hold those picks a little bit later. Let's go with more standard jungler tank stuff early. Then you might end up in a situation where now
flexes.
Yeah, flexes, things like that. Jensen is not just 10 CS ahead in a losing matchup. Now he might be destroying you and stuff like that. So I like that Dignitas is proactively going for that red side.
Yeah, it was a confident first rotation from Cloud9 in terms of the champion site from game 1. This time, Dignitas is kind of removing that option from them and giving themselves some more opportunities to counterpick or flex themselves. That was only game 1 of the series. When we return, we'll see if Cloud9 can even up the score versus Team Dignitas. You're watching the North American LCS Summer Playoffs.